Welcome to Close Protection Briefing. I'm here with Evan Moore in the offices of Transeacure down in Dorset, and we're talking about close protection and also how Evan got started in this business as a director of Transcure. So Evan, if you want to give us a little bit more of an introduction to yourself.
Yes, I will. My name's Evan Moore. I'm the Director for Training of Transcure Group, TSG, based down in Portland, as you've said. We're predominantly a training organisation, and we help people that want to go into the close protection world into different sectors to gain the qualifications they require, and also to help them find gainful employment.
Okay, well, what's your background? You came from, you were military service in the past. Can you tell us a little bit about
Yes,
that?
I was, yeah. Basically, I'm like most of other people that go into this sector. We are people that have got military backgrounds, that have found the transition, perhaps the civilian street, a little bit difficult. And we've gone into this industry because it's something that we can keep hold of and obviously transition into quite easily.
Do you find it's just almost a lifeline to coming to this sort of job? Because although there's lots of skills that you learn in the army, obviously security, protection, keeping people safe, and obviously in situations that might be armed also in the army is obviously the best training you can get for that, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, you can come from any branch of the military, whether it be Navy, Army or Air Force. Right. You do have certain skills. You tend to find that people that go into the forces are cut from the same sort of cloth. So there's a standard there from the beginning. So the transition to security or high-level security is an easy one. Yeah. And it's normally accomplished quite easily by most people. Okay,
we'll sort of jump to the end there. We'll come back and we talked about the sort of candidate that you're looking for when you train somebody. But first of all, let's talk about the kind of possibilities for careers of somebody that's having security and or close protection training.
Yeah, well, the world we live in is obviously a very uncertain world, and as we know at the moment, there's quite a few conflicts going around the world. You tend to find that once the main military elements have left, there's normally a lot of work to be done, which is normally picked up by the private security sector. So we tend to find that a lot of the operational work comes from the areas that have had conflicts at the moment, such as Iraq, Afghanistan, Angola, and obviously Syria's quite hot on the news at the moment. I'd imagine after all of that is cooled down, there'll be some work out there as well. So unfortunately, it's the old saying, there is a theatre opening up near you. Work is always there.
Right. And the people that you would maybe employed with as a security officer, would they be either other security companies or would they be corporations like oil companies or a mixture of both?
It's actually all of it, really. You can be working for a private security company on its a specific tasking, or it could be more of a larger picture, working for some of the larger oil companies and large multi-conglomerates. So yes, anything is anything.
What would be the actual role of well, there's two roles, isn't there? There would be sort of general security, I imagine, but there's also the close protection side. What's the difference between the two?
There is a vast difference. From a normal security operative who would be working, let's say, as a site security or something along those lines, it's still security, but it's at a more lower and sort of controllable level. The people that go into the close protection side need to be quite diverse, quick-thinking people. A lot of them that have been in hostile environments have already, if you want, have been able to handle their anxieties, so it makes them a better, more sort of professional officer in the fact that they can think quicker whilst their mind's elsewhere.
Can you give us just an idea if somebody got a job as a close protection officer for, let's say, a fictional large company, say working in the Middle East? What would their responsibilities be?
Yeah, well, with the BTEC Level 3 qualification close protection officer, when you finish, that makes you as qualified as anybody else. However, we all understand that it's lack of experience. Now, you could have come from any branch of the military or any walk of life, and you will have certain skill sets. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're straight out of the box. You might find that a lot of your duties may be mundane to start with, such as doing VCPs, that's vehicle checkpoints, or anything to do with any RST, residential security. So that could be just stagging on a gate, or something along those lines. Doesn't sound very sexy at that point, but it's like everything. You have to walk before you can run.
Yeah, absolutely. So at what point, or with what kind of years behind you, would you then perhaps be asked to be, for want of a better term, a bodyguard for somebody?
Well, as I said, the qualification allows you to be that straight out of the box. To be a close protection officer for a specific client doesn't necessarily have to go on the grounds of complete experience. It could be your suitability to that client. For instance, if you've got a client that is into luxury yachts and boating, if you can put a close protection officer that has got a background in a maritime environment, they've got that common bond point, which means that when they're together in conversation, you've got something to talk about. There's nothing worse than, let's say, put in a close protection officer who's a football fanatic with somebody who likes golf, because there's no link there.
Right.
Because what you'll tend to find is the close protection officer will make a bond with his VIP or the principal, and vice versa. You obviously need to remember that there are boundaries and that familiarity breeds contempt, but it's all down
if they've got a common interest, and
absolutely,
because a lot of it is going to be, obviously the close protection officer is always going to be alert, but there will be a lot of days where nothing happens.
Yeah,
hopefully
absolutely.
Every day nothing happens.
Every day. If you're doing your job right, hopefully you shouldn't get into any conflicts.
Yeah, no, that's right.
Yes.
So let's that's the top end, if you like, I suppose, of close protection work, isn't it? Where you have a particular VIP that you will be associated with. But as you've said, the security officer can work in various different environments. Can you give us just a couple of examples, perhaps, about what they might be doing if either they didn't want to go into that VIP protection, or other aspects of the job?
Yeah, as I say, the spectrum is completely open. Excuse me. They're basically, they can work for the corporate sector, which means that they'll be sort of in a more sterile and more controllable environment. Or a lot of the lads decide that they're going to go back out to Iraq and Afghanistan and work on the operations out there. Obviously, there is an element of risk in that, in the fact of why they're out there to begin with. So it all depends on which stream you want to follow, for want of a better word. Some people decide they're going to become maritime security operatives working on board the ships on anti-piracy duties. So providing you get the correct training and you've got the correct qualifications, really the field is open to you. It's whatever best suits you and what suits your temperament.
That's right. Okay, that brings us on nicely to saying, well, what kind of candidates do you think make good candidates for close protection training? What sort of personalities and backgrounds?
Yeah, I would like to say that all military people make great CP officers. Unfortunately, there are a few that don't, in the fact that if they don't have great people skills, that can be a major hurdle. They can be a fantastic soldier, airman or sailor, but if they haven't got the people skills, then unfortunately this wouldn't be the profession for them. However, you can get people from other walks of life. They don't have to be military. There's lots of skill sets out there that are sort of, well respected and can be used in the security environment for VIPs.
Do you find most people do come from military into your kind of training? Yeah,
as I said earlier, you tend to find that most military guys and girls are cut from the same sort of cloth. So their temperament is there. They understand a little bit of hardship, so if times get a little bit hard, they don't fall apart on that. A lot of them have been in conflict situations, so again, the stress level, although it's still there, they can overcome and adapt and think about the situation as it unfolds. So yeah, military people on the whole do make better CP officers, yes.
Now, you have a few different training courses that you offer people that lead up to close protection training. Can you tell me the kind of things that people will learn on these courses?
Yeah, basically what we do, first of all, the potential student gets in touch with us and gives us an idea of their background, whether it be military or civilianised, and what they're looking to gain from their employment, because it's very important that they get steered in the right direction, because there's lots of different courses out there and they can waste a lot of money and not actually achieve anything they want to achieve. So I think the first thing to do is to find out exactly what sector they want to go into, and basically, we guide them in the right sort of direction with regards to qualifications that companies expect. There are certain standards, and if you get a qualification that's lower than the one expected, you've basically wasted your money. We try and tell, or we sort of advise people that the best route to go is middle of the road. What we mean by that is that if you get the required amount of qualifications so that you can flit or move from each sides of the industry, it makes you a more versatile CP officer. The days have gone of one man, one job. You have to be multitasker now. So you have to learn all different skills.
Evan, we've been talking about people that leave the forces in order to maybe look for some kind of employment and to use their skills to best effect. And we've already said that security tends to use up an awful lot of those skills that they would have learned in the forces. And when you came out of the army yourself, did you have any fixed idea of what you wanted to do in Civvy Street? And did you do any resettlement training? And what would you advise other people to do?
Wow, yeah, that's a good subject. When I left the forces, unfortunately, there wasn't the facilities that there are today for people leaving the forces. There was no learning credits. There was no real sort of centre where you could go to seek advice on how to integrate back into civilian life. Most people from my era in the 80s, they struggled going back into civilian life in the fact that it is a different world out there once you've been in the military, so it can be difficult.
And did you get any help from anywhere? I mean, you said there was no help. Did you just sort it out yourself, or did you then start to just set up the company yourself? Yeah,
basically, when I left the forces, at that time there were jobs about, but I was finding I was going through jobs, maybe 3 or 4 jobs a month. I just couldn't find something that would settle. So obviously, my wife got a little bit anxious about that because I was not bringing in any money, and we had to make a decision of what we were going to do. So obviously, I funneled or honed all of my skills, if you like, into something that I know.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. So, what would you advise somebody leaving the forces to do, and how to sort of like seek a career, or really to sort out what they're going to do after they leave the forces?
Yeah, I think the best advice is talk. It's basically talk to their resettlement officer, talk to the career transition partnership to get an idea of any ideas that they've got. What are the aspirations of it? Where's it going to take them? And is it going to give them gainful employment? Because at the end of the day, what you want to do is earn money when you leave the forces.
How soon before the time that they leave would you suggest that they start looking?
Yeah, I think if they're starting to think in their own subconscious, if you like, that they think it's time to leave, then chances are it is time to leave the forces. So you want to try and prepare well in advance of your actual final day within the MOD. And again, with that, the military will allow you a certain amount of time off to go and get retrained whilst you're still collecting a salary. So, a little bit of forward thought is a marvellous thing.
And you can get credits, can't you, for taking the courses that even your company offers?
You can, yeah. Providing the course is a BTEC level 3 or above qualification, the MOD, each candidate, or should I say military member, acquires a certain amount of learning credits where they can move those financial resources to train for different employment on leaving the forces. So we tend to find a lot of our students use their LCAS to actually complete their qualifications, and it helps a lot with the funding.
Okay, Evan, we're coming to the end now, so is there anything you'd like to add to what we were saying today?
Yeah, I just think that anybody that's thinking of going into this profession, they need to first of all do their homework, look around and find the correct companies to do the training for them. A good way of finding this is the fact that most good companies will actually have a testimonials page on there or blog section allowing candidates to actually give feedback from the courses they've received. If a company is doing extremely well, they will be more than happy to let you see those, or will make them available to the public sector so that you can see them for yourself. I think that is a good benchmark to make sure that you receive the correct training and to the standard you want. I think also another thing to do is to ask questions with the training provider. If they're happy, they will be more than happy to give you an abundance of information about their courses. If they're starting to get a little bit cagey and perhaps don't give you too much detail, I think that's a good indicator that perhaps maybe they're not the correct training provider for you.
Absolutely, we're looking more detail at these courses and also just general advice on getting yourself ready to maybe train and what all that entails in other episodes. So we'll leave it there for today. Thanks very much, Evan. And we just say that if you want further details, you can look at the show notes for this podcast on the Transeacure.com website, and also more details of the training courses that Evan and his colleagues offer. The website is www.transeacuregroup.com, and you can find all the information there, and telephone numbers and email addresses if you want to ask any questions. Okay, thanks very much again, Evan, and
thank you.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.